Imagine a killer who paralyzes an entire city with fear, openly mocks the authorities, and then vanishes completely. Over 130 years have passed since those crimes were committed. Thousands of historians and investigators have pored over the evidence, yet we still have zero definitive answers about who he was. The timeline starts in August 1888 in the East End of London, specifically the severely impoverished district of Whitechapel. Modern cities have bright streetlights and security cameras on every corner. Whitechapel had a labyrinth of twisting, pitch-black alleys defined by extreme overcrowding and neglect. That squalor and chaotic layout created a high level of environmental camouflage. With dozens of unlit escape routes, a predator could strike in the dark and disappear with absolute impunity. The initial shock hit that August when the brutally mutilated body of a woman was discovered on the street. The sheer cruelty of the attack terrified the public. The killer worked with an unnerving, deliberate anatomical precision that suggested he knew exactly how to dismantle a human body. Now, look at a standard Victorian police officer from 1888. They carried a wooden truncheon, a whistle, and a bullseye lantern. Crime scene preservation and forensic science did not exist. Investigators only knew how to solve murders driven by obvious motives, like debt or revenge. They had absolutely no established protocols for tracking a killer targeting strangers at random. The police had no tools to track a predator who lacked any social or personal connection to his victims. Their entire investigative framework collapsed when confronted by a killer without a discernible motive. Throughout the autumn of 1888, the violence escalated. A second, third, and fourth murder occurred, each mirroring the same horrific brutality of the first. The specific method of the crimes, the post-mortem anatomical mutilations, became the single focal point for the detectives. Assuming the killer required formal anatomical training, police began heavily profiling doctors, scouring London's medical schools and surgical theaters for suspects. They also targeted local butchers and slaughterhouse workers. These men had daily access to sharp blades and spent hours in blood-soaked environments, matching the profile. Detectives pulled in hundreds of these professionals for questioning, but without a single fingerprint, hair, or drop of trace evidence to test, nobody could be definitively linked to the victims. The investigation was then derailed by a new phenomenon, mass media panic. Sensationalist newspapers began printing graphic crime scene sketches, feeding off the public's fear to sell copies. Soon, these papers started publishing taunting letters from individuals claiming to be the killer. One of those letters officially introduced a terrifying moniker to the public, Jack the Ripper. The most infamous letter arrived at a watch committee. Opening with "From Hell," the sender claimed it contained a victim's kidney. Historians debate its authenticity today. Was it genuine, or a medical student's gruesome hoax, signing off with a taunting, "Catch me when you can"? This relentless media feedback loop actively sabotaged the case. Overwhelmed in 1888, the murders suddenly stopped. Nobody knows why. Historians generally point to three possibilities. The killer died, imprisoned for an unrelated crime, or he quietly fled the country. Fast forward to the present day. Researchers have attempted to finally close the case by applying modern science to the surviving evidence. But despite massive technological leaps in forensic analysis, every attempt to extract a conclusive DNA match has failed. The problem is contamination. For over a century, those letters and physical items were handled by police officers, journalists, and amateur sleuths with bare hands. The original killer's genetic profile is completely drowned out by 130 years of random DNA. If this exact string of crimes happened today, contemporary policing would resolve it almost immediately. Ubiquitous CCTV, digital tracking, and modern DNA swabbing would catch a Ripper within days. The identity of the Ripper remains hidden because he operated during a specific lapse in Victorian society. He struck at a time when urban overcrowding and media frenzy had outpaced forensic science, providing a temporary window where a killer could operate and then vanish into history.